Time is now 7 o'clock, and I'm reconvening to open session and calling to order the regular board meeting of the Indian Prairie School District 204 for Monday, April 16th, 2018. Jackie, can you call the roll?
Ms. Peel?
Here.
Mr. Carubas?
Here.
Ms. Price?
Here.
Mr. Rasak?
Here.
Ms. Deming?
Here.
Mr. Rising?
Here.
Ms. Donahue?
Here.
We do have a quorum. Ms. Donahue, could you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and I know we have one board salute. Mr. Rising?
I'll be honored to. The board would like to salute Granger Middle School for being redesignated as an Illinois Horizon School to Watch by the Association of Illinois Middle Schools. There are only 24 middle schools in Illinois and approximately 400 schools in the nation that carry this distinction. Crone Middle School, Gregory Middle School, and Hill Middle School are also Horizon schools. To receive this honor, schools must demonstrate social equity, academic excellence, developmental responsiveness, and organizational structures and processes designed to support a path towards excellence. We congratulate Granger's principal, Lori Fiorenza, and her staff and students for this impressive designation.
Thank you. And then we have our student representative report. Today it's from Waubonsee Valley High School, and we have Lauren Aucoin here. Hi, Lauren.
Go Warriors.
Good evening. As Waubonsee is approaching the end of our year, we have many exciting events and activities in the upcoming weeks. Over the past week, Waubonsee has also had many academic and extracurricular activities occurring. This past Friday, the 13th, Waubonsee hosted our Badminton Challenge fundraiser. Waubonsee also participated in the Voices Unite open mic at Java Plus, along with students from other schools, and took the time to express their voices. Waubonsee juniors recently took the in-school SAT. We also hosted our Read If You Dare event in the LMC this past Friday the 13th. This past Thursday, Waubonsee hosted our blood drive, and this past week, Waubonsee had a fundraiser at Chipotle to raise money for our Best Buddies Club. In terms of upcoming events, over the next 2 weeks, Waubonsee's juniors are arranging introductory meetings with their new counselors to prep for their upcoming college applications. On April 20th, Waubonsee's Clothesline Project will be displayed for students to view. Waubonsee's musical, The Little Mermaid, will be playing from April 26th to 28th. Spring Open Mic is coming up this Thursday, the 19th, in Waubonsee's LMC, where students display their poetry and songs. Waubonsee's Senior Celebration, Lock-In, is coming up this weekend. With seniors graduating soon, although the weather doesn't seem like it, Waubonsee has many exciting events coming up to close out our school year, including Senior Brunch May 23rd, Prom on May 12th, Baccalaureate May 23rd, and finally, graduation May 27th. For the rest of Waubonsee students, as the school year is coming to a close, we have our final starting Wednesday, May 30th, and our last day of school on June 1st.
Lauren, hold on a second. What year are you?
I'm a senior.
And is this your last meeting?
This is my last meeting.
Okay, thank you for everything that you've done. You've done a great job.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about your plans for next year?
I'm going to Notre Dame, so I'll still be in this horrible weather. I've really been regretting it of late. Yeah, with all my friends visiting their California schools, it's pretty upsetting because Notre Dame has more snow than we do. But
Okay,
Good luck to you.
thank you.
good luck. Thank you. It is now time for public comment for non-agenda items. If you are here to speak to an agenda item, that comment will be taken immediately prior to that item. 30 minutes is allowed for public comment, and each person is limited to 3 minutes. When addressing the board, we ask that you respect the confidentiality and safety of our students and school district personnel. We also ask that those addressing the board be cognizant that this is an open meeting and is available to all age groups. And as such, ask that you consider who the audience members are this evening and keep comments age appropriate. Public comment represents the voice and the opinion of the speaker. There will be no feedback from the board members during the meeting, but follow-up will be provided by an administrator as appropriate. And our first speaker is Mary Ann Sprinkle Walker. Hi, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. My name is Mary Ann Sprinkle Walker. I'm a parent of 2 students in the district and a PATHS member at Neuqua Valley. My husband and I, who's here with me, are in support of the recommendations presented during the Community Engaged Session number 3, What is Future Ready 204. First, we would like to reiterate to all, including Dr. Karen Sullivan, Dr. Lewis Lee, and the school board, please continue focusing on developing different academic platforms to teach, inspire, collaborate, express, and share ideas, creativity, and resources like Makerspace. Second, in addressing the different learning styles and achievement gaps, we urge all of us to be cognizant of families that cannot afford tutors, leave work to pick up their student from extracurricular activities, or attend school functions. It is unfortunate that some parents have other priorities or obligations and are not able to get an inside perspective on school environments. Do not discount these students, as there are families that enhance their child's academic learnings through participation in activities outside the school. As a parent who is fortunate to be involved and attend some of these important discussions, we must be their advocate as well as represent our own students. That said, these parents or guardians are not off the hook because someone else is representing them. Parents, you must still do your homework to stay connected. Otherwise, your student will miss many opportunities and you will be ill-informed, if at all. Lastly, for the school administrators, teachers, and the school board, I say to you that we, the African American minority families, have some key issues to address and resolve within our own. We are not asking you to solve those issues. However, we are encouraging you to keep us on your radar when developing new programs, restructuring curriculums, and addressing class sizes. Many families do not understand that the basic school day does not and will not give our students all the academic discipline they will need to achieve success. You must help them by creating it anyway, even if you do not see them present at your board meetings, even if they did not attend the engaged meetings. Our African American youth represent 9% of the district, or almost 24% if you include Hispanics and students with 2 or more races. That's 2/3 of our student population who will be an adult someday. Why not help them shape their narrative, becoming productive citizens? Give them the best adaptable, flexible, or customized learning experience that we can provide. As we have learned, one size does not fit all. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, I hope I say this right, is Aloma Erastus.
Welcome.
Thank you. And good evening, board members and attendees. I'm a parent of a District 204 student and a member of PAGES. And when we came to this country from the UK, where our education system tends to be 2 years ahead in each year category, one of our children was put into a remedial English class, and for that whole year, that child attained 100% in tests and classwork right across the board, average. Another child who excelled in testing and in schoolwork at the primary level, and was also at the top of his class, was not considered for Project Arrow and stayed within the normal program. And there seems to be discrepancy between primary level education and the high school, by the time they get to high school level education. And these are the kinds of scenarios that PAGES has been organized to prevent and avoid. The Fordham Institute has done testing and has data that shows that students in grade 3 at the 40 to 60% percentile have less than 5% chance of becoming high achievers. And therefore, academic intervention, like Pages, is necessary. And to this end, I come before you to reiterate how important it is to continue to focus on these three aspects of our children's academic life. Number one, equity. Number two, the achievement gap. And number three, our children's success. Now, last year, Principal Stipp attended one of our Pages meetings and informed us of his goal to increase the GPA average within Wabonzi Valley High School. And if we can develop a symbiotic kind of relationship in which the board places a firm focus on the 3 points I mentioned, whilst Pages continues in their efforts to empower our students to reach their full potential, not only will this result in the increase in our students' academic level, but also within the high schools, as well as, subsequently, the school district as a whole. So we really want to urge the board to ensure that our African American students are part of the community's priorities related to the future operations and educational opportunities for our students. And may I remind everyone of the words on our US quota, pluribus unum, out of many one. We all have a purpose, and we are one in purpose. We all want our children to reach their full potential. It is not a race, it is not a competition, it is a right that every child, our children, deserve. We want to academically prepare our students for not just higher education, but for life. Magic happens when we don't give up, and we will not give up. We will never, 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 never give up. And those are the words of Sir Winston Churchill. And I want to thank you all for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
And our last speaker today is Andrea Collier. Hi.
Good evening. Again, Andrea Collier, or AJ, if you prefer. I am the current president of Pages, and that is Parents Advocating for the Greater Enrichment of Students. That's what Pages stands for. A group whose founding mission is to focus on closing the academic achievement gap for African American students. So I am compelled to speak to you today as you are in the process of tallying the counts at the end of this Engage 204 process, on the importance of continuing a focus on that academic achievement gap and ensuring that all of our students receive the quality education that District 204 is known for. I believe the general attendance, the demographics, and the dynamics of those Engage meetings, and the fact that this is really an under-the-radar crisis, makes it unlikely that the achievement gap will bubble up to the top of any of those lists. But educating our students is not really optional for a school district, and it cannot be relegated to a popularity contest. So it's time for us to truly live up to the image of District 204. And it's great, the recent state ranking, but the devil is always in the details. And each and every child in this district is deserving of a quality education and everything that that implies. And for our part, we have repeatedly acknowledged our role as parents and as a community in this process, but that in no way absolves the educational institution from its part. And we appreciate the conversations in progress on one of the P3 recommended areas, but there is so much more to be done. And if there are other district efforts in progress addressing this issue, we who are most interested, most affected, and most invested would certainly like to know about it. And it should also be noted that this is not a building issue, so there's no need really to refer us back to our buildings. We recognize this to be a much larger issue, including all of the feeder schools and deserving of a very thoughtful and holistic approach in the district to resolving it. So I encourage you to make sure that this district meets or exceeds expectation in all areas in the same manner that we expect our students to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we move to our consent agenda and superintendent report. We'll begin with the report from Dr. Sullivan.
Okay, we have an event this week that I want to mention, and that is our Multicultural Reading Night, which is co-sponsored by our Bilingual Parent Advisory Council and our Parent Diversity Advisory Council. It's going to be this Thursday, April 19th at Still Middle School from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. And it's a really wonderful event that celebrates the diversity of our district. There will be guest bilingual readers. I would guess there might be a guest board member reading somewhere along the line. Free books for the students, a raffle drawings, and much more, and you can find information about that on our website. We have several other good news items that both relate to the Indian Prairie Educational Foundation. First, we received news late last Friday that the Dunham Fund had agreed to fund the Indian Prairie Educational Grant, a grant in the amount of just over $53,000 to support an expansion of maker spaces. One of my speakers just spoke about that. In all 21 of our elementary school LMCs. So maker spaces introduce computer coding principles at the elementary level and are designed to shift instruction to include skills of critical thinking, creativity, complex problem solving, and cognitive flexibility. So this expansion will provide additional equipment, allowing greater accessibility to over 12,000 students impacted in our district. And we're very grateful to IPEF and the Dunham Fund for that opportunity. So we're very excited about that. And finally, Team IPEF. So, you know, what can I say? This is our 5th year for Team IPEF, which started with 31 runners that first year. So as of 5:30 today, we had topped 478 runners, which absolutely shatters the previous high of 355 from last year, 2017. And you still have some time to sign up, but not much. The last chance to join is by 11:59 p.m. tonight, and I know I have a couple board members who have promised that they're going to sign up by 11:59 p.m. tonight. So we'd love to get 500 runners, and that includes walkers. That's right, walkers. So it's amazing to see how staff and community have stepped up for this great cause. We have 272 District 204 staff running. A shout out to our preschool that have 41 runners currently, and they're in their lead to get the 1,000 prize additional to the school that has the most runners. And we have White Eagle, Steck, and Patterson all making a run for it as well. We'll
More
see who
board
makes it.
members than ever.
Yeah, we do. And special thanks, we have 16 principals, and we have school board members, hopefully many school board members, who took up my challenge to join me in walking the 5K in support, right, Lori? Walking, we're walking, right. So it's amazing. So there's, as I said, still 5 hours left to register. You have to use the Team IPEF charity partner code to sign up. It's very easy to do. So help us hit that 500 mark. That's what we'd really like to hit. So that's what I have.
Thank you. Now we go to our consent agenda, and I need a motion that the Board of Education approve consent agenda items D through J.
I move that the board approve items E through J.
D through?
I'm sorry, D through J as identified.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Can you call the roll, Jackie?
Ms. Deming?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Donahue?
Aye.
Mr. Rising?
Aye.
Ms. Peel?
Aye.
Mr. Karubas?
Yes.
Mr. Rasak?
Aye. Motion passes. Well, we're scooting right along here. We go to our discussion item, which is the food service update.
Motion to scoot right along.
These kids picked the
Been at it
best.
since 5:30, so it's okay.
Yeah.
These kids picked the best meeting to come to. I think this might be a.
We haven't heard
Relatively
Ron.
fast
Ron
one.
likes, Ron can talk food for hours, right?
I could. I don't think I will for you tonight. But I will answer any follow-up questions. I can make it real quick. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing us to come and speak today about our food service operation and how we've been doing this year. This is Erica Arlinsky. I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Erica Arlinsky. I'm Vice President with Organic Life.
And today we're going to talk a little bit about our program overview. We've had a pretty exciting year. It's been a state of transition is what I've been talking about all year. You got me, who I'm new this year. You transitioned from Mr. Keeley to myself. You decided to go with a new food service provider, Organic Life. And then we all decided, you know what, that's not enough. Let's throw in Pushcoin. And let's change over Pushcoin and how our families can pay for our meals and the terminals, the checkout terminals that are inside our cafeteria. So, and then on top of that, we did a kitchen renovation at Neuqua Valley, a little over $250,000 renovation at Neuqua Valley. So it was a fun summer. I definitely got to dive right in and hit the door running with D204 this summer. We'll talk about our eligibility for our students, free reduced, meal participation levels and some of the historicals behind those. We developed a new student survey that we also had some parents take this year to see if we got some good feedback from our families. We decided on a new format that was very detailed and allows us to drill down by school, by grade, by the level within the grade. So if it was a middle school, we can drill down to Granger Middle School, 6th grade students if we really wanted to see if the grade levels within each school are giving us better or different information. We'll talk about our operational overview, how do we operate on a daily basis and make sure that we're providing meals to our students, and then we'll go over some goals for next school year and we'll work on over the summer.
A little bit about us and the program overview is that we serve hot lunch at all schools in the district. Breakfast is served at all of the high schools, 5 out of the 7 middle schools, and 16 out of the 21 elementary schools. We have 2 high school production kitchens where we satellite to the elementary schools and Indian Plains, so Matea Valley High School. They produce food for 11 of the elementary schools plus Indian Plains, and they have 3 trucks that deliver to the schools. And then our second production kitchen is out of Neuqua Valley High School, and we have 2 trucks over there, and they deliver to 10 of the elementary schools. And then we have a total of 155 employees in our food service management program here in the district.
So when we talk about total employees in the program, we have less employees in the program than we do in the past. And a lot of that is we're more efficient in the staff resources that we have at buildings. We don't have as much as the back end administrative costs that we had in previous contracts. A lot of the costs that we are seeing now are directly serving students. So that's a benefit, and how we always preach we are a very efficient district, and our contractors in on that as well. Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about our student meal eligibility and how our students pay for their meals. If you notice from year to year, we saw an uptick this year from last year in the number of free students that are eligible for free meals. A lot of that is because of the direct certification process that's set through the state and our federal government. We have about 95% of our total free students are directly certified. And what we saw this year with that uptick is the number of households that are receiving those benefits and the number of people within those households. Those benefits get extended to everybody in that household that we weren't seeing in the past. That is not a new eligibility guideline. It is just more families are aware of it and taking advantage of it. Okay. The number of paid, we look at 83.5% and then 1.08% for our reduced families. What we do is on an annual basis, we want to make sure that these numbers are clean, these numbers are accurate within our information systems and data points that we have available to us, and we go through these on a weekly, monthly basis to ensure the accuracy of that data. With that, we talk about what does it cost for us to produce a meal. We start looking at our paid lunch equity. I don't know if you've heard that term before, but what it does is basically ensure that we are not subsidizing any federal funds through the National School Lunch Program to pay for paid student lunches meals. So basically the same meal that a free or reduced student will get, it's the same quality of food if you're paying for it. It makes sure that we can sustain equity across the board with the meals that we're serving. Okay. With that, the numbers that for next school year for paid lunch equity, they have not come out for next year. So when they do, the requirement for paid lunch equity is if you're below the threshold, you have to increase by 10 cents your prices of lunch. So if right now we're below this year's target is $2.86. We're serving $2.65 at the elementary and $2.70 at the middle schools and high schools. So we'll probably have to look for another increase. But once we get that tool available to us, we'll evaluate and we'll talk about lunch prices at another meeting. Meal participation. So this is a key indicator slide for us on how the operation is running. And if you look at last year, I had to separate that into two, first semester, second semester, pre-December, post-December, however we want to talk about it. The bid process that was run last year, for whatever reason they may have been, we saw a decline after that process in meal participation. And that those aren't statements being made. What they are is the data shows that we saw a decline. So we were averaging anywhere upwards of 9,300 meals on an average day prior to the bid process. And then after the bid process, we started dipping below that 9,000 to 88, average 87.69 for the total average of 9,018 meals served a day. That continued into the beginning part of this school year, okay? We started selling, on average, a little over 8,600 meals a day. But we're starting to see the fruitions of the labor, the education process, the food tasting and looking good, the freshness of the food, that from scratch type cooking that we have at the schools. We're starting to see that in the second semester. If you look at the average for January and February, it's over 9,000, so we're starting to build the program up. Prior to it was pre-December of last year. February's average is 9,100. We just finished March numbers. It was over 9,300. And year-to-date so far, we're at 9,200 for the month of April, for the first 10 days of the month. So the program's growing, participation is growing, which is what you want. These are reimbursable meals that we're talking about, which is the most nutritious meal that we have on the menu, not the a la carte items. We're serving the reimbursable meal with the most nutritious elements and requirements that are available to us. Okay.
So the annual food service survey went out on Monday, February 19th, and it lasted for 2 weeks up until Friday, March 2nd. And the reason for the survey was it really helped identify feedback from the students on their preferred lunch items, what they like, what they don't like, the student satisfaction, as far as the different items that is being offered, and reasons as to why students are eating or not eating in the cafeteria. So it really gave us lots of helpful insight of how we could continue to make our food service operation better, and menu items that the students are liking and want to eat in the cafeteria.
So how did we administer the survey? In the past, there was laptops set up in cafeterias. Someone had to staff it, slowed down some of the eating time and line speed. Well, this year we said we have this one thing called one-to-one. Let's utilize those devices that students have in their hand and make it a survey that's easily accessible. If you had a smartphone and you're a high school student, you could take it on one of your downtime, or even while you're eating lunch. You don't have to stand at a station and take a survey. And I know there's some efforts that sped that up from 20-minute, 15-minute survey down to a 5-minute survey in the past. But this was, let's do it on your own time. Let's try to coordinate those efforts amongst schools. We talked with each of the assistant superintendents for each of the levels. What's the best way to administer this? We talked with our technology department. How could we administer this in the best fashion utilizing technology? Talked with our communications executive director. How should we do this? Talked with our executive director of assessment and research. Is the survey and the questions going to give us results that we want to see? So a lot of upfront work went into developing the survey that's going to give us good results, good participation with it, and information that we're going to be able to turn around. Data's only good as the data as you understand it, right? So if we don't understand how that data and what we're looking to get out of it, how do we use it? It would take us longer to figure out how to use it, as opposed to we have information, now let's review it, let's analyze it, get some analytics going, and start using that information to improve the program. Elementary schools, we utilize there's students at each school that are in a Chromebook pilot. We utilize those resources in time in classroom for teachers to take some time and administer the survey. Middle school, same thing. We said anytime during the survey, at any time during the school day, go ahead and administer the survey with your students. And in the high schools, we communicated, take it on your own time. A little bit more different age group, figure they can kind of manage that on their own time. Looking at the participation, we saw an uptick in about roughly 300 responses from the previous year that we did the survey. Just like to note, last year we did not conduct a survey, did a bid process instead. But prior year to that, the 15-16 school year, we had a little over 6,500 responses, and in this year we almost had 7,000 responses. To note, we had great participation from previous years at our middle school levels. If you look at the uptick of the middle school level, they really took that, championed it, and ran with this. So that could be a key indicator on how we should administer it in the future as well. Should we dedicate some time for students to take it in some type of controlled environment to have it knocked out? Maybe we can get some stronger responses. Okay. So how do students like our food? Is why we're here tonight. In the next few slides, we're going to talk a little bit about that. I believe the elementary level and the feedback we get at the elementary level is important because they don't cook that food on site. It's shuttled. So they're not getting the pizza directly out of the oven. They're getting it cooked that's a little bit early in the morning. We deliver it on some hot food trucks, station it, serve it when their lunch period is. And for us to go from a 38.1%, I agree that the food tastes good, to almost 53% is pretty telling on the quality of food and how it's being served by Organic Life. I believe that's a nice trend that we want to maintain, and we can look at the data and say, all right, what are the menu items that our students like best, and go from there. So people feel that the food tastes good at the elementary level. Overall, how does the cafeteria program, how do they perceive it? This goes into staff friendliness, the line speed, not so much does the food look and taste good. All that goes into this, but this is kind of a macro view of how do you like the overall program and what do you like about it. And if you look at the 33.1% up from 18%, it's again a good swing in the positive direction, and it's telling on how Organic Life is doing, definitely. So what are the favorite foods? Of course, pizza. What kid doesn't like pizza, right? I mean, I'll eat pizza every day if I could. But a lot of this is we're going to be able to drill down, look at menu items based on student demographics as well. There may be specific schools that has a higher demographic of a student population that likes other foods. We asked that question in the survey: what foods do you like to eat outside of school, so that we can bring those items into our menu planning. So we're not just serving, the chicken nuggets, the hot dogs, the pizza. We can start bringing in some type of stir fry, grilled cheese, burritos, whatever it may be, but utilize that information to kind of gear the menu items to what our students say they like and what they eat outside of school. Part of the survey, we also talked about, we asked, if you don't eat in the cafeteria, why not? So that we can drill down on what those reasons are, whether it's line speed. My mom or dad likes preparing my lunch. So, that population you're probably never going to get, right? My dad liked making my sandwich, and it was a time for us to talk in the morning. He probably wasn't going to give that up by handing me $2.70. I mean, that's just a reality. But it's information we can use for a school or a specific population that, all right, those efforts aren't going to be blanketed, or those goals may not be blanketed at that population or that school. Middle school survey. This is where we saw a little bit of a negative decline. We believe that was felt because of the amount of responses that we got. Maybe in the past, don't know. Maybe the participation levels or a demographic that's being served, we had more responses from them this time, and they didn't like something. Like I said, the good thing about this survey is we're really going to be able to drill down into that, figure out what those reasons are, and provide feedback. Anything that we do in food service, some of that has to do with education. How do we educate the student body on what we're serving, how nutritious it is, and how do we get them to partake in that and improve their overall experience. Food service cafeteria, how do we like it? Middle school level, we still are getting at 86%, and if we're looking at a grade book, that's a B, right? And we wouldn't freak out just yet, but we want to be in the A range. We want straight A's, right, Erica?
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, but my life in food service and transportation, we're focused on the 2%. You can be 98% effective, but that 2% is what you focus your day on to improve that 2%. And that's what we're going to do with the middle school level, is really hone in, figure out what it was that steered some of those results into the other way that we'd want to see, and how do we get a B to an A. Favorite foods, almost mirror elementary. Pizza's always at the top. We have some burgers, fruits and vegetables. I should have noted that in the elementary slide. They like fruits and vegetables too, which is a good thing. We making some healthy decisions. Burgers fell down a little bit. Maybe we got to put some bacon on those burgers or something. Yeah. The high school, okay. Positive results from the high school. Again, we want to see that orange and red decline is what we saw, and we want to see the green and light green increase, which is what we saw at the high school. They believe the food tastes good. I would love to talk to a person who said that they strongly disagree, because that food is cooked fresh on site. I would like to know what made them choose that they strongly disagree. Did you just pick something? Did you pick the fresh made stir fry that's made in front of you? You picked onions instead of pea pods? Yeah, what'd you pick? Maybe that was the reason, but I'd love to talk to that person, because all the food that I've tasted, quality control, right, Erica?
Yes, very often.
Yeah, hey.
Ron likes to come by for quality control and taste the food.
We got to make
and he's
sure.
always welcome.
Got to make sure. You got to make sure. But I would like to just drill into this data, make sure we're still maintaining what our students like, providing them the meals that they expect, and making sure that everything's positive. How much do they like the cafeteria program? If you haven't been to any of our high schools, it's like a food court. You walk in, you got all these different stations. So if you ever were at the mall and you walk into the food court, you got all these different stations that you can choose from. That's kind of how it is at our high school, and it should be a positive experience. It shows in the data and the responses that we've received back from our students, and we want to maintain that and improve on it. Yep. Pizza again at the top. Looks like it's a strong runner. So if we had any type of competition, I think pizza would win out. But again, different population, different demographics may like different food. We may, down the road, you may have a high school menu for each of the high schools down to the middle school level. Maybe one high school likes, Asian foods, or another one likes pizza. Offering those menu items to kind of gear towards getting higher participation level from students to make sure that they're eating nutritious meals. Operational overview.
The operational overview on our program is that the customer and the consumer engagement is incredibly important to us, because we want students to come eat the food, of course, and we want, the only way they're going to do that is if they like it. And how do we know what they like and what they don't like? Well, the survey was a huge help. That really helped us see and pinpoint the meals that they like, but also engaging the students and simply asking them, and we're always accepting feedback, and we want the students to know that their voice is heard. And if somebody comes up and has an idea, as a menu planner, I would love to put it on the menu if it works, if it's feasible, if it meets the guidelines of the National School Lunch Program, because that's what we're here for. It's very easy to accept their opinions and see what they like, because they're really our customer in this, and we want the experience to be very enjoyable for them, of course. New menu items, we're always open to that, and we certainly will see through our sales. For an example, if there's a day, Friday is pizza day, our sales are always up on a pizza day, and we're going through a lot more food on Fridays. Kids really do like the pizza, so just seeing if there's an Italian dish, for example, that's really popular, we'll definitely menu it again. And sometimes you're not always going to please all 21 elementary schools on the same day, but it definitely does help to make sure that we have a variety of menu items out there to please the different demographics that we have to work with, and all the different buildings that we have within the district. Marketing and promotion is also incredibly important because we want students to know that we're here and we're here to feed you, and we want you to come into our cafeteria. And maybe you're one of those students that, like Ron said, your dad just likes to make your lunch, and you didn't even know that we offer a stir fry station that's made to order. It's actually very neat. If you haven't been to the high schools, it's made to order, and you get to pick your different toppings and your noodles and your rice, and it smells delicious. So
Which day is that? I'm just curious.
Every day.
every day.
Yeah, every day.
Yes. So sometimes, there could be students that just don't even walk into the service area. So we really want to continue to work on how we can market and promote the meals that we do offer to the students that are available to all these students.
Yeah, part of that is we meet as a team every Thursday, and we go through some of the menu items, and we look at the sales reports and say, hey, the elementary level saw an uptick on Nacho Day. Sometimes we'll see a participation levels double at schools on Pizza Day or Nacho Day or Grilled Cheese Day. Some of these, so we look at that on a weekly basis to see how our menu items and how sales align with those menu items. And if we see a dip in, Chicken Nugget Day, well, then maybe we should see what's going on with chicken nuggets, and maybe the students didn't like them. How do we engage our consumer? We have this district food service committee that's set up. This year we haven't started it. You already understand the first semester was totally geared towards getting all the transitional elements of organic life set up. Transportation was kind of a beast this first semester, getting that all in place, making sure that we were providing service to the students. We're looking to get that going back. That is how we involve multiple key stakeholder groups, whether it's parents. We're going to utilize the IPPC and PTA groups. As we go do on-site visits, we'll involve the student councils, making sure that they can provide feedback and we're listening to them. They see a real person in front of them instead of hitting, a contact us type of email, and you're getting a canned response. You get to see there's a real person behind seeing your feedback, giving your feedback. There's a person behind that, and I believe that in-person, face-to-face conversation can really help grow programs. What are we looking to do next year? The big thing is increased participation. It's how we support the program. It's how we support the students at our schools. It's how we support the district by providing nutritious meals. We want to increase by 2.5%. We believe we can do that. It's about 200 more meals a day if we continue with the trend that we're currently at. If we were looking at our first semester trends, we would already be there in what we're doing right now in March and April. But we're looking to grow off our current numbers another 2.5%. So we'll utilize that information once we finish up this school year, see what we can do next school year, promotional marketing, whether it's we have somebody walking around the cafeteria with slices of corn dogs and, try this, and then next week it's on the menu on Thursday. Why don't you try it? Some type of promotional item, not just a table in the food service line, because as Erica was saying, not everybody visits the food service area. Okay? We're also going to look at the breakfast program at all school. What is the reasons why we're not serving breakfast? It is a building level decision, but what are those reasons? Is it that buses just arrive a little bit later than anticipated? Is it due to the free and reduced population? Is it due to there's just no demand for it? Kids eat before they come. So we're going to look at all these different reasons why we don't have breakfast at all schools or why we're not offering it. Okay. And at this time, I turn it to you. So the time, however long this takes.
I have a question.
Yes.
Go ahead, Kathy.
So I assume you can look at the different schools and see which schools you might have a lower participation rate in. And I love that you're exploring the different cultural varieties in the food items. Is there a way for you to kind of focus certain ones that are more popular at certain schools that would work, or is that like not a feasible opportunity?
So for elementary, it gets a little bit more difficult. We have the 2 production kitchens. If those populations that are the schools that are being served and those demographics align, which is something that we'll be looking at, absolutely we can have 2 separate menus based on those 2 production kitchens. Middle and high school levels, absolutely we can adjust menu items and add menu items You can even do specialty items on the fly. If somebody came and said, hey, if I wanted chicken parmesan in 2 weeks, just give us enough time to get it, prepare it, and, you know, procure it and get it ready. I mean,
Yeah, it's very flexible over at the middle school and the high schools because we have the kitchen right there on site. And also, the kids are they're a little bit different. The younger kids, they're more, they look at the menu at home, and then, of course, they decide if they want their parents to pack their lunch or not. But at the middle schools, a lot of times they have more options so that they come and they know they're going to eat, and it's just a matter of picking what they want. And sometimes at the middle school and high school level, we have a chef's choice too. So it's just different because not every one of the 7 middle schools are the same, of course, or the different high schools.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Ms. Donahue?
Nothing.
I've had the privilege of eating at all 3 levels this year. The only recommendation I have is line speed at the middle school. I think we kind of have a bottleneck the way that our space is laid out, and so to the extent that we can, decentralize that a little bit, maybe have another station set up, because I don't think you can get more people through there quicker. But I definitely see from my observation that people are electing not to just because of the wait.
Right.
It's lunch, I want to eat, and I want to talk and socialize with my friends as well, but I need to eat. And if you're making the back half of middle school lunch, it's painful. So I think we're losing some participation because of the line speed at the middle school level. Otherwise, great compliments on the quality of the food. The anecdotal stuff that I'm hearing is a great job overall, so thanks.
Thank you.
You had mentioned if, they have a specific request or even possibly a dietary need, they could mention that to you. What's that process to do that? Do they mention it to the manager of the cafeteria or?
Yes. So if it's a dietary need, it usually goes through the school nurse, and then we have that documentation, what allergies they are. We're making sure that the food allergies and the food that we're serving there is up to par for them. They just walk up to the kitchen manager and give them that feedback, and then that trickles up to Jackie McBride, who's kind of the district manager, and then we review that every Thursday. If there's any information, and good thing about Erica, she's a certified menu planner, so she's looking at that, and it's very simple to say, hey, we want to add, stir fry on a day at the elementary. She can work on adding that, and students can get that want.
Okay.
So, would it be creepy if a school board member ate lunch regularly at a high school?
Yeah.
As long you have to wear your ID.
Yes.
I'm curious how you ate so frequently at the school. No, I just wanted to say, ever since October, November of 2016, before our district was even using Organic Life, I saw you guys at the Illinois School Board Conference, and I was just impressed with you right away, just because of the company's approach and everything. It doesn't surprise me to some extent, the lead into the year, how we were kind of trending downwards. And let's be honest, if you're a kid that has a turkey sandwich, you're going to talk down the hot lunch program, right? I mean, because you got a turkey sandwich. But, really, I'm excited to see that February's averages for meals have surpassed what they were for the whole average of last year. So we are in a great trend. I don't put a lot of stock into the first year because I think with Organic Life, us being one of their biggest districts they've ever had, there's a learning process there too. And, just judging by where their expertise is as a company, I'm excited to see what they do from a marketing standpoint, from everything else that they talked about that they want to continue to do next year and so on and so forth. So I'm excited. Keep up the great work. The board has had some food, so we've loved it. And, I think it's going to catch on in the schools. So thanks for your work.
Thank you.
Wabanzi's not a production kitchen for other schools, but we do provide on site for.
Yeah.
And then, do we have any data that talks about, that indicates for those schools nationwide or that you provide services, breakfast for, any difference from an academic or the link? You know, when kids are getting ready to test, we're always encouraging, have a wonderful breakfast because that makes such a big difference. And so I'm just wondering, do we have any data that regarding the difference that a breakfast can make for a child?
Yeah, so there's industry data similar to, better attendance leads to higher graduation rates. If you're fed and you're not hungry, it does lead to better grades. There is data that shows
I was
that.
kind of specifically asking that as we consider looking at breakfast and, potentially
Yeah.
maybe some of the elementary schools where if that's possible, but
Yeah,
just wonder if that might help.
Yeah, it's looking at data and analyzing. It's part of as we explore breakfast programs, the whys and what is needed. We'll add that element into it. We can look at, GPA or grades, that type of deal. Yeah.
I'm going to go back to kind of what Mark said about this being the first year, and I guess I'm looking at it as this is your first year, and you've already got you've made some headway with this. I guess I expected some of the results to actually be lower, just because you were new and that you have those learning curves. So I was actually quite impressed that the data shows that you're already well received and well liked as far as the food goes.
Thank you. It's very easy to work with Ron. He helps. He's a big support. So it definitely is a teamwork effort. Thank you.
Oh, good.
So I like your emphasis on continuous improvement. I think that's very important. And I like that you're trying to get to that A. So you said that you were disaggregating the data and trying to find out from our students why not.
Yep.
What are the couple reasons, the top reasons why not at this point, and what can we do in order to improve those why nots to have them participate?
The two big ones, line speed and menu items. So if you think of, there's a term in the school food industry, it's called menu fatigue, offering the same items over and over. And if you have one bad experience with one, the likelihood that you're going to come back and try it again is diminished. So those are the two big reasons, line speed, and there's some efforts going on right now looking at line speed, especially at the middle school level. I mean, I was there at Hill the last 2 weeks looking at it, and having students wearing IDs or having them on them is super important because it's just scanning a barcode as opposed to hand entering any type of numbers or student last name. And then we're looking at just the menu items in general, which is why on the survey we asked where are some of the items you eat outside of school so we can try to plan for those on the menu.
So we represent many ethnic groups, many cultures, many backgrounds. Have you disaggregated the data for that group to see whether or not they're participating, and what can we do in order to get them maybe to participate more because food might be different?
So the demographics of the student we didn't collect, whether you were Caucasian, African American, Asian, it was the type of food that you prefer to eat. We talked pizza, burgers, chicken patties, chicken nuggets. We talked about Asian foods where there was stir fry, Italian dishes. So that information we're analyzing now by school, by grade level to determine if for example, Fisher Middle School, 8th graders prefer something different than 6th graders. And should we change something on the menu or the day of week items or a chef special? So it's information that we're kind of going through now by school, by grade level, and looking at the preferences of what students like to eat.
Can I just make one more comment? Just because Susan made me think of it as well. Everything that you can do for breakfast, especially with the low socioeconomic students or the students that qualify for free and reduced lunch.
Yep.
Anything you can do to also make sure that those kids are getting something, because like you said, I've seen the data too on the national studies, it makes a huge difference in academic performance when those kids can get something, even if it's just a grab-and-go thing.
Yep.
Even if it's something they can't sit down for, but they can take with them, it helps them from a focus standpoint, from you know, because that might be their only meals that they're getting for that day. So, you know, I was actually one of those kids. So anything that you can do to make sure we get those kids something, I would be, you know.
I'll give a plug to Organic Life. We now have 6 middle schools serving breakfast. There was one student at Gregory Middle School that was asking for breakfast. Socioeconomic status was free. They stepped up and started providing it. We put the application in through ISB, and now we are certified to serve breakfast, but we are meeting the needs of one individual student. Because think about that, depending on the socioeconomic status, you may be getting one meal when you get home.
Absolutely.
And you don't know what that meal is. We want to provide a nutritious meal, breakfast and lunch if possible. So absolutely. Yep.
Thanks.
Yes, and I would encourage all our schools to participate. I think it's probably time. Any other comments? Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Last but not least, the Board of Education update. I have several, and I know some people are going to participate too. So IPEF, the Indian Prairie Foundation, had its monthly meeting on April 4th. Highlights included reviewing the requested project funding for the 2018-19 school year. Those projects reviewed included Back on Track, which is a great program for our at-risk kids, robotics and STEM services, Valley Runway, and Young Hearts for Life. In addition, job descriptions for the foundation were reviewed by the executive committee and presented to the entire board for comment and approval. And finally, the foundation will be celebrating their 30th year in existence. So there's going to be a back-to-school bash is being planned for August 25th from 11 to 3. It's going to be at Neuqua Valley High School. The bash will feature a battle of the bands, inflatables, and 30 food trucks. The event hopes to raise awareness of the foundation, engage families, community members, and alumni, and hopefully fundraise for current programming. As you could tell, Dr. Sullivan is a special nudge for the foundation, urging our staff and board to participate in the Naperville 5K and half marathon, and there's still time. I think we have 3.5 hours. As she stated, record numbers of district participants will be running to raise money in the fall. I want to thank all the community members, all our staff who really participated, and board members for participating, and students can also participate. So there's a kid marathon, so check out that foundation webpage. On April 11th, the board conducted its self-evaluation with a representative from the Illinois Association of School Board. The night was spent reviewing our performance on the 6 foundational principles of board governance. Overall, we are doing well. We talked about how we're continually working on our policy, and it's always a great opportunity to share insights and suggestions for improvement. I think specifically we discussed how to share district and board goals in a more understandable and transparent manner, and how to continue to openly and honestly communicate with each other. So those were the 2 areas I think we focused on the most. As we approach the 2018-19 school year, I would like 2 board members to look at our board goals in order that we can determine their relevance and perhaps suggest some new ideas and new thoughts for board goals, not district goals, our own board goals. If interested, please contact me through email, so as we go through the process of adopting board goals, we can have maybe a head start with 2 of us kind of thinking that out. So if interested, please see me. We had 2 board members who participated in the National Association of School Board Conference. They came back fired up, so I was wondering if you want to share any information. So, Susan, I'll start with you.
Thank you. Again, I want to thank the board for allowing me to gain the knowledge that I did and the opportunity to attend. Extremely excited to hear Superintendent Karen share that we received a grant regarding makerspaces. I just had a chance to forward my thoughts and comments, and one of the questions that I had was there a potential for us to receive grants for makerspaces? So excited to hear that. My goodness, you are so responsive. Thank you, Karen.
Read your mind.
Exactly. But the things that I walked away with, makerspaces and creative learning environments, were extremely large discussion. Equity and academic achievement nationally are huge priorities. And then anything really that has to do with ensuring that technology is not only brought into the schools, into our schools, but also is used in the best way possible to ensure that education is really enhanced and not just technology placed in the school for technology's sake. So those were some of the big takeaways that I had. I have a list of thoughts and questions that I did forward. So you'll see those, but again, thank you. And the one thing that I did want to mention, and I know that Lori did as well, really excited that we have the technology portion coming to Chicago in June. One of the things that the technology displays that they had in San Antonio was one that really impacted science courses, the STEM field, and really helping high school students to experience what it means to delve a little bit closer into the biology and chemistry fields by looking at corpses, technology-wise, but really, really valuable. So just really interested to see some of those types of things that might be there, and really interested to see administration bring that type of information back, just so we can be aware. Large investments, but extremely valuable.
I'll be at the conference for my professional job, and I'll be sure to walk around and get information too for the board.
This is Donnie.
So I would like to repeat many of the things Susan said. We're very grateful for the opportunity to go and see all of the different boards throughout the country, and even outside the country. We met a lot of people from Canada who has had very good press lately about their school performances. So it was very interesting, and not only just the sessions, but the conversations at lunch or on the bus or whatever. You hear an incredible amount of information, and I came away very thankful for our board and the accomplishments that this district is. I think we are vision. We have a vision in front of us. We've done a lot of activities that many other districts are just starting. So it was really refreshing to hear that. But of course, you also hear lots of very interesting thoughts and ideas going forward. A couple things that I wanted to highlight is I listened to quite a few sessions about how to make your students achieve the greatness that they have in them. And there's many studies now that show that ACT, SAT, those are not the strongest indicator of success or whatever, that you really need to understand if kids have a hope, if they have engagement. And for me, that's an extremely important concept that I think we need to look at more in our district and understand that, because I got it repeated multiple times, and I truly believe that there's something there that we can add to our agenda. Also, I think some of the technology and things that we've been working on rolling out, making that more creative in the classrooms and driving more innovation, I think is something that is very important to the future of our students. I will share, though, at one session that I went to, I raised my hand and mentioned that In our district, we've done a very creative thing in having our middle school students be our IT help desk, which gives them real life experience helping students. Plus, it's a job market for many. And after the session, I was completely surrounded by people wanting to know more about how did we do that. And it was so, I mean, these schools were just, amazed that we have tried something like that. So it was just a wonderful and refreshing experience to see what was going on there and see all of the displays of the different technologies. Susan and I had the opportunity to attend a session where we programmed stuff with Apple, and the line to get in the session was around the building, but we got there early and got in. So we were really delighted to get insight into many different things at the session. So I also shared my notes and a lot of questions and ideas for how to help make our district the best that we can be. So,
Thank you. I know that the Illinois Association of School Boards is asking for possible resolutions. They're due, I think, in June, around the 20th, so I think we're going to put that on our school board agenda. So if you're thinking of some of those things, make sure that you get those in so we can look at them and talk about them at the board meeting here. And I want to thank our parents today for coming and talking about community engagement. That process is still going on, and parents have an opportunity, all parents have an opportunity to participate still. I think our facilitating team will be meeting in a couple of weeks in order to finalize some of their recommendations. And the website has been open for review, so all parents and all community members can look at that website, which is on the Union Prairie website, view the programs, and also view all the feedback. And in addition to that, you can still, I think, provide some feedback back to that group as they begin to prepare their report back to the board. And with that,
Motion to adjourn.
do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Jackie, do you have the? Oh, yes, don't forget your exit slips, please. Like I did. Oh, yeah. Like I did. Come back here.